Hello friends, this is George Chesnut, and this video is investigating the hymns for Sunday, October the 4th. We begin on that date with number 546, Awake My Soul, Stretch Every Nerve. This hymn is a ringing call to vigorous action and faithful service, and we are given a challenge by the words. The text was written by Philip Doddridge, who was born in London in 1702 and died in Lisbon, Portugal in 1751. He suffered from consumption, or what we would today call tuberculosis. Mr. Doddridge was a nonconformist, meaning that he was not associated with the established Church of England. A wealthy patron offered to finance an education for him, preparing him for ordination in the Church of England, but he declined, choosing instead to remain a nonconformist. For 20 years, Doddridge served as the pastor of a poor, nonconformist congregation in Northampton, where he opened an academy for the training of nonconformist ministers and was the instructor in most of the subjects himself. Lady Huntington, who was one of his patrons, offered to finance a trip to Portugal for the benefit of his health, and this offer he accepted, saying, "I can just as well go to heaven from Lisbon as from Northampton." His words were prophetic, for he died soon after his arrival in Lisbon. Mr. Doddridge was the author of some 400 hymn texts, most of them intended to accompany his sermons. Relatively few are still in use today. The tune most often used with Awake My Soul, Stretch Every Nerve is usually called Christmas, because it is often paired with the words, "While shepherds watched their flocks by night." The editors of our hymnal 1982, however, have chosen to call it Siroe because of its origin as a soprano aria in a Handel opera of that name. And this, of course, is the great George Frederick Handel. Handel lived from 1685 to 1759 and was of German origin. He traveled and studied in Italy for some years and settled permanently in England in 1713. Handel wrote all kinds of music and is best known for his Italian operas and his oratorios, with Messiah being the best known and best loved. Several hymnal editors have taken themes from Handel's works and made them into hymn tunes, and that, incidentally, is how we got our beloved hymn tune, Antioch, to which we sing "Joy to the World" every Christmas. Awake my soul, stretch every nerve. Our sequence hymn for this Sunday, the 4th of October, is number 495, Hail, Thou Once Despised Jesus. These words depict Jesus as the suffering servant, setting an example of humility and patient suffering. They are the joint effort of two authors, John Bakewell and Augustus Toplady. We already met Toplady recently when discussing Rock of Ages, Cleft for Me. John Bakewell was born in Derbyshire in 1721 and lived to be 98 years old, dying in 1819. At a young age, he came under the influence of the early Methodist societies and other leading evangelicals and began to preach in 1744, the year of the First Methodist Conference. At his death, he was buried in the cemetery connected to the City Road Chapel in London, which is sometimes lovingly called the Methodist Vatican. Our hymnal 1982 pairs this text with a traditional Dutch tune called In Babylone, which was published around 1710. The English composer Ralph Vaughan Williams found it and included it in the English hymnal of 1906, from which it has received wide use. Our closing hymn for this week will be number 518, Christ is Made the Sure Foundation. This text, originally a Latin text, is very old, coming from the 6th or 7th century. It was translated into English by the British Anglican priest John Mason Neale, whom we've already met in this series. Neale's lifespan was from 1810 to 1866. He was ordained in 1842, but ill health and his strong support of the Oxford movement kept him from regular parish ministry. He worked among the poor and indigent and was the founder of the Sisterhood of St. Margaret, which became a highly respected training ground for nurses. Christ is Made the Sure Foundation is sung to several tunes, but in our hymnal 1982, it is paired with Henry Purcell's tune, Westminster Abbey. Purcell is regarded as one of the greatest among English musicians, although his lifetime was quite short, only from 1659 to 1695. He composed a vast amount of music in all genres and served for a time as the organist of Westminster Abbey. And this, of course, is the origin of the name of this lovely tune. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and benefited from this video. This completes our set of hymns for Sunday, the 4th of October. Bye. See you soon.